Welcome everyone to the Success Partners International Weekly Training Zoom. We start all our calls in Success Partners with our powerful signature message. And that message is something each and every person on this line can say. I am part of a growing team of entrepreneurs with a shared mission to protect and empower 2 million families and small businesses with LegalShield's network of law firms and world-class identity theft services. What we do matters, and we are looking for help. And with that, I have the great pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. He is a $150,000 ring earner, a 16-year LegalShield veteran, a coach, a speaker, an author, and a man I am so grateful to call friend. Mr. Timur Halligan, the call is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. Truly appreciate your kind words and getting folks checked in from all across the country. And, Lynn didn't say a whole lot about herself. And I always like to speak about Lynn because I had the opportunity to meet Lynn, many, many years ago. Before she was a LegalShield associate, she was actually speaking at one of our executive leadership retreats. And she was speaking about the power that her book brings to so many individuals, that 9 little words to change your results. And from that day, we've been blessed as a team to have her part of this organization, active in this organization, and continues to always bring value to every single call that we have. So Lynn, I appreciate you so much and appreciate everybody who's joining in tonight. As Lynn said, my name's Timur Halligan. I am in my 16th year. I'll be starting my 16th year here in just a couple months. And let me tell you, what a long, strange trip it has been. What an awesome journey, being part of this incredible company, to have the ability to go out and talk about these incredible services. And, tonight for our team training call, we're going to spend some time focusing on, some basics. We usually talk about on our team training calls, what it takes to get started in this business for all the brand new associates. So I'm just going to share with you real quick, head over to our team website. Go there with your sponsor. That's going to be able to help you to become aligned with the system that we have to get you started. So just head over to begintheascent.com. Go to that getting started section, and you'll learn everything that you need to learn about getting started in this business. What we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to spend all of this training call tonight, is talking about how 3 steps can really mastering 3 steps, how that can help you get to whatever income level you want. Tonight we're going to talk specifically, I can't talk about what it takes to get over $200,000 yet because I've only made, upwards of $190,000 in 1 year with this company. But I can tell you what it takes to get to that 6-figure income. I can tell you what not to do to get to that 6-figure income, right? And what'll keep you from getting there. So tonight what I'm going to do is share, just a little bit about, my story. I started with this company, as Lynn said, 15 years ago. And here's what I can tell you. What I've learned is that you really only need 3 steps to get yourself to a 6-figure income. And what I'm going to say to you is, absolutely. And some folks say, you got to be kidding me. It really can't be, that easy. And what I'm going to tell you is that it really is. But here's what I said. I did say master, correct? Yeah, you got to get good at 3 things. My background is that in the world of coaching. I've helped about 80 kids get Division I scholarships. I've helped one child get to number 1 in the world. He's made millions of dollars on the tennis court. And here's what I always tell people and my athletes is that get good at 3 or 4 things. You don't have to be good at every shot in the game of tennis. And you don't have to be good at every single thing in LegalShield. You just got to get good at 3 things. And if we can master these 3 things, I can promise you, you are well on track to get to where it is that you would like to get to with this incredible company. I started back in 2004, and this was my first year with LegalShield. $2,483.23. I then went on, I'll be honest, I did not master or even think about these things that I'm going to share with you guys tonight, I went out and just marketed the membership. And for probably about 5 or 6 years, I went out and just did one basic thing. Listen, I can tell you how you can make a good $15,000 a year in this company because I did it for about the next 4 or 5 years. I went out and just marketed this membership. I was always in Performance Club. So that's clue number 1 is get into Performance Club. Because if you think about getting into Performance Club, getting into Performance Club is writing $180, worth of premium. So I'd go out and market 4 or 5 memberships a month. Well, guess what? You do that 3 months in a row. Currently with our compensation plan, you're at the manager level. And then to get yourself to that senior manager level, go out and do it for about 8 months in a row, right? That'll get you to senior manager. Then go out and keep on doing it until you get to director. And then you're making, $190 for every membership. You write 5 of those a month. You're making $1,000. You're in Performance Club. You get another $400. Well, that was my first 4 or 5 years in this company. And it was a major error in judgment, in my opinion. I didn't follow the system that LegalShield has in place for each and every one of us to be successful. Why? I was successful outside of LegalShield. And here's what I learned. You can build this business on a part-time basis the right way. We've heard that term, part-time, full-time. That means when you got the time that you have, that part-time schedule, you do it full-time, but you do it the right way. And then it was about 10 years ago that our leader, Mr. John Drennan, gave me a call. And, it was the perfect time for me. The timing was right. The timing was right because I had, left a job that I had. I had a consulting agreement that was making a good 6 figures a year. And at that time, things were kind of shifting in the economy a little bit. And I remember that call. I remember getting a call from Mr. John Drennan. And that call said, hey, this phone conversation is long overdue. I remember I was walking into my wife's house. She wasn't my wife at the time, and we had just gotten together, and I'd come out of some tough times in life, gone through a divorce, and the time was right. I always believed in the membership. I always believed in this membership. I'd won trips with LegalShield. I didn't even know what the heck I was doing, but I knew how to talk about the membership. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is not about how to sell the membership, but the 3 steps that you really need to master. Because no matter where you are in your LegalShield business, if I would have started from the very beginning, like many folks that are on this call may have started, but stayed consistent with it, okay? Stayed focused in what needs to be done, I can promise you can get to whatever level of income that you want to get to. Now, I'm also going to tell you it's not always easy. People are going to tell you no. I sat down with 2 folks yesterday. They just said, not right now, but I'll follow up with them because that's part of the process of things that you want to do. But what you want to do is master 3 things. And we're going to talk about those 3 things right now. Number 1, if you go over to our Team Ascent website and you go to begintheascent.com and you go to the getting started section, you go down in the 3/4 of the way through the page, you're going to see 3 videos. These 3 videos hold the key to massive success in LegalShield. And as we're going through tonight, what I want you to take a look at is what are the areas that I'm good at? What are the areas that I need to get better at? And what are the areas that I'm not utilizing right now? Because there are so many folks right now. And here's what I say quite a bit. I'll say so many people on this line watching, so many that will be watching it in the future. Your skills are better than your results, but your processes need to become more consistent. You have to trust the system more than you trust yourself. You have to understand that this business has a plan of action. This business has a system that's there, and we have a tendency to get off track when it comes to this business. We could all talk about these 3 things, but as I said, we want to make sure that we are learning to master these 3 things. So when you go to our Team Ascent Facebook or Team Ascent page and you go to the Getting Started page, you're going to see where it says how to make $1 million contact list with Millionaire Club member, Mr. John Drennan. And so there's a lot of people who are going to say this. I've seen the video. I've watched it. It's 5 minutes long. I've watched it maybe once. Maybe I've watched it twice. But if you watched it consistently, over and over again to the point that you could teach it, see, that is absolutely critical. Remember, I said to get to that six-figure income with this company, you have to master it. So you got to master the process of creating your list. Then the next video, it says mastering the invitation process. And this is a video I put together several years ago. It's 5 minutes long. And again, a lot of folks will say, I've seen the video. I've watched it, understand it. And then I'll go through with somebody and I'll say, hey, let's do some role playing and talk about your invitation. And it's not mastered. And it's not a difficult process. But again, the key here is that 3 steps you need to be able to get yourself to a six-figure income, or anything, any derivative, any income level that you want to get to. I actually wrote on my board this morning, it says, master the simple and you'll multiply your income. Master the simple and you will multiply your income. Third one is master the process of the three-way call. And here's what I can tell you. In this business, three-way calls are really that foundation to massive success. I was doing a three-way call with a gentleman last night, and I don't think he really quite knew how it was going to turn out. And I could tell that because in the regular world of business, when you're out there closing sales, if you're in the corporate world and you've got to do that, you don't usually bring somebody else in. Unless maybe you're working at a car dealership, and we ain't like a car dealership here, but it's a process that is utilized here in this business, and that is to use the three-way call. Now, in that three-way call, I consistently do three-way calls with people that have been in this company for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and let me tell you, the process hasn't been mastered. Sometimes I just look like that little emoji that you see on your phone that goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's the way this call is going. But you got to learn it. And we're going to talk about that tonight. And so let's talk about creating your list. So when somebody first starts with LegalShield, start with a list of 30. 30 is a great place to start. It's not overwhelming. It's something that you can work through. Now, here's the thing. In creating that list and putting those 30 people down on paper, now sponsors, this is important. You want to go through that list with your new associate. See, it says create your list. It doesn't say right here, go out and start talking to everybody, because that's where we run into problems. People create their list and then they kind of go off and they start just talking too much, saying too much, sharing too much. And then you lose that first opportunity to be able to speak to them. Listen, veterans on the line, how many times do you wish you could go back and restart? And you wish that you could just say, gosh, I shouldn't have said as much. I shouldn't have scared so many people away. I should have done it a little bit differently. Well, here's what I'm telling you. You can continue as you build your list to now do it the right way. So new associates, you start out with 30. You work through that list, and you're going to go through the list with your sponsor, and you're going to talk about the invitation process, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. You have to take time to build your list. So after you've gotten that initial 30, you want to really spend time building your list. Think about this. Anyone who's ever built a brand new house, you go through putting together all the blueprints, and you start to then pick out the colors of what things are going to look like. But you're taking time to make sure the structure itself, the foundation is solid, because otherwise you got a beautiful house built on shaky ground. And so building your list, taking the time to go through and watch that video that Mr. John Drennan put together, I mean, it will absolutely help you get your foundation. Don't prejudge your list. I hear this one all the time. You know, it's like, well, I put down the people I think would be interested, or I put down the people that I think would have legal problems, or I put down the people that I think would be looking for an opportunity. You've missed a lot of great people. I've brought on a lot of folks into this business, you know, from a recruiting perspective that I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to be absolutely amazing. They're so successful in life, but then they don't adhere to our system. And guess what? A lot of times they go on and not do a whole lot of nothing against them, right? I mean, I love everybody, but for this business to work, you got to follow the process. So you take time to build your list. You keep adding every single day to your list. Consistency is imperative. It is critical to success in this business. Now, consistency does not say 40 hours. Consistency says that with the time that you have, you are consistent in the habits that you do each and every day to make sure that you can ensure the best possible results in your business. So you can't control the results, but you can control the habits. You can control the consistency. And then you have to track that list. We've got all kinds of great tools to track. You know, you've got your Wealth Builders tracking form, which you can find over on our Team Ascent page, which helps you to keep track of who you've reached out to. You've got Prospect by LegalShield that can help you track, okay? You've got the 10 Daily Connects sheet, which I believe is the greatest tool to simply write down who you're reaching a hold of. And all you're doing is pulling them from your list and then putting them somewhere. But those forms are only as good as your list. Those forms are only as good as the people that you've got down on a piece of paper, you know, that you could, you know, then go ahead and transfer over. Then you start to say, okay, the next process, the invitation process, getting people to look at information, getting people to maybe sit down with you. And I'll be honest, I recommend sit downs after you've really mastered the presentation. You know, don't just go sit down with somebody and not know what you're going to say and not know how you're going to present, because you will mess it up. I mean, I can think about back when I used to start selling memberships at health clubs. I didn't know how to market a membership, even though I was great at being able to teach a tennis lesson. I mean, I was literally scared to death. I would fumble around. I would focus more on just here's what we have, and I wouldn't focus on the benefit. And then you learn how you talk the difference between features and benefits. So I'm saying at the get-go, guys, new folks, and I mean, even folks that don't feel great about the presentation, don't sit down with people till you feel confident in being able to talk to people. And let me tell you this, you don't ever have to sit down with anybody to get really, really good or really excel in this business. Yeah, you want to get there, but we're talking tonight how to build a consistent, duplicatable business that will lead you towards 6 figures and beyond. How do I invite people? I can call them on the phone. You know, most people are scared of the phone. They honestly are. They're just afraid to pick it up because somebody may actually answer and you're not quite sure what to say. We're going to talk about the what to say. You know, how do you invite people to stuff? You know, a lot of times you may invite people via a 3-way call. And what I mean is that may not be the first exposure, but it may be the second time you speak to somebody. That person's going to invite them to look at some more information. You can text people. You can text folks. I put the money sign next to that because text, people respond to most text messages in less than 3 minutes. So in less than 3 minutes, people are responding to text. It takes a little bit longer via email. But you can invite people to look at information via email. I don't recommend inviting people to look at information via email because an invitation is an interactive conversation. Social media works great. Private message on Facebook works great, where you can go out and reach out to somebody and be able to say to them, you know, what we're going to talk about here in just a second, which is the what do you say part. But social media gives you a great opportunity to be able to invite people. So here's how you invite. And then you want to take a look at what is the next step. What do I invite them to? Well, you can invite them to our Zoom presentations, you know, where technology brings the best out, where people can see, kind of like we are right now. You can invite them to conference calls. Personally, conference calls are my favorite thing to invite people. Why? Because it's easy for people to get on. You know, I don't need the visual. I don't need them to see the compensation. I don't need all that. I just would rather have a conversation with people. So to me, conference calls are one of the greatest tools that we have, because LegalShield, you can get the feeling for what it is, what it does, simply by listening. And then we would invite them to maybe look at more. So I always say to people, you know, we then would do a three-way call, which we'll talk more about in just a second, but I utilize that to then get people to the next step. You can invite people to take a look at a video. You know, you can invite folks to just take a look at something you're going to send them. You can invite people to a private business reception, you know, a gathering someplace. You can invite them to a briefing, a luncheon, a Super Saturday event, a Ladies of Justice event. You can invite them to all kinds of different things. So what do you say? See, this is where the mastering process is. So we've mastered the process of putting our list together. We know that we're going to consistent. That is so simple to do, guys. Now, what do you say when you invite people? You know, the first thing you want to get good at is clearing the schedule of that person. For example, if I want to send you a video, I may call you up and I may say, hey, John, it's Timmer. Would you got about 10 minutes or what do you got going on in the next 10 minutes? They're like, well, I don't have any plans. Why? Great. I'm going to send you over a video that I'd love you to take a look at. It sounds like you're available. Would you just take a look? You may or may not be interested, but I'm super excited about a company I just started to do some work with and would love your thoughts. See, I cleared the schedule. They got the next 10 minutes or so available. I send them over the Don Thompson 10-minute video, or maybe I send over the Melissa Wilder video and let them hear about the membership. But let's say I'm inviting them to a private conference call. I'm inviting them to a Zoom. I'm inviting them to a Super Saturday, you know, whatever the case may be. You know, I'm just going to say to you, hey, what do you got going on Saturday? Now, here's the process that I follow. When I call somebody up, I usually have 2 dialogues with them. 2. Hey, John, what's going on, man? How was your day? It was pretty good. What about yours? Oh, man, it was awesome. You know, I did this, or this. And then the second time, I'm going to ask them something. I'm going to say, hey, what do you got going on tomorrow about 6 p.m.? What do you got going on Friday for lunch? What do you got going on Saturday around noontime? I'm going to clear the schedule first. I'm going to edify them. You know, I may say something like this. I may say, hey, John, you know, we chat for a second. I go, hey, what do you got going on tomorrow night about 6 o'clock? He's going to say, I don't have any plans. I'm going to say, that's awesome, man. You know, listen, I've always admired, you know, what you've done, or I've always admired what you've done for afar, or, you know, listen, I really, really value your opinion. I'm going to edify him. I'm going to make him feel good. I'm going to say, I'm really excited. You know, I just started working with a new company. And one of the gentlemen or one of the ladies that I'm working with is going to be speaking about what it is that we do. Now, you may or may not be interested, but you may know somebody it is. It sounds like you're available. Can I count on you to listen in? You got to get that process. I mean, it's, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night about 6 o'clock? I don't have any plans. I'm excited as I edify. I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm saying to them, hey, listen, I'm excited that I just started with a brand new company. You know, one of the gentlemen or one of the ladies that I'm working with is going to be speaking for about 15 minutes about what it is we do. It sounds like you're available. Can I count on you to listen in? You may or may not be interested, but you may know somebody that is. That's the script. It doesn't matter what order you put it in. I may say, what are you doing tomorrow night at 6 o'clock? They may say, I don't have any plans. I may say, that is fantastic, awesome, groovy, whatever. Listen, one of the people that I'm working with this new company is going to be speaking tomorrow night about 6 o'clock. Listen, you may or may not be interested in what we do, but you may know somebody that is. It sounds like you're available. Can I count on you to listen in? You can take any one of those things and mix them all up. Then you want to make sure you've got a three-way call set for after whatever it is that person does. Whatever it is that they see, you want to make sure you've got that done. So let's talk about three-way calls. And we're going to talk just a second about how you get the call started. Again, super important. Can't stress it enough. Again, I said at the beginning, it's about mastering three things. So let's talk about you getting somebody on the phone. So let's say I'm calling up, Sheila Bird, and I'm saying to her that, she's my prospect, but I've got John Drennan on the line with me. I'm going to call up Sheila, and this is exactly the way it needs to work. Hey, Sheila, it's Timmer. Do you got a minute? Now, why do I ask her if she has a minute? I ask her if she has a minute because she may be in the middle of something. Too many times I'll go to get on a three-way call. I'm the expert, and the person will start talking with the person on the other end. And I have actually heard things that I can promise you that prospect does not want somebody they don't know to hear them talking about. So I ask Sheila right away, Sheila, do you have a minute? And if Sheila says no, I just abort the mission, right? Done. Hey, oh, by the way, I got somebody on the line right now. I want to introduce you. No, you just abandon ship. Boop, boop, done, over. We'll call you back later. Hey, Sheila, you busy? You got a minute? Yeah, well, actually, I'm in the middle of something. Hey, no worries. When can I give you a call back? And she says, about 10 minutes. Great. I'll call you back in 10 minutes. Now, if Sheila says, yes, I've got a minute, I immediately say, that's great. Because I've actually got my business partner, Mr. John Drennan, on the phone. And I was sharing with him that you just watched this, whatever it was, or you just saw this, whatever it was. And I wanted to introduce you. Sheila, this is John Drennan. He's been with LegalShield for about 20 years now. He's got a background as a high school teacher. He's taught entrepreneurial business at the University of Michigan. He's earned several $1 million with our company. Him and his wife, Lynn, have got some fabulous children. I'm going to edify John. And then I'm going to say, John, let me introduce you to Sheila. And then I'm going to edify Sheila. I'm going to say, John, this is Sheila. We've known each other since we were little kids. We grew up and went to the same high school. She's the mother of, X number of children. Her and her husband, Carlos, are just amazing people. I'm going to talk good about them. Here's what I hear a lot of times. A lot of times what I'll hear is, hey, John, Sheila, John. Well, that's not mastering. That's not mastering, okay? You got to go through and edify both, then get out of the way. And let's talk about what goes on during a three-way call, because you want to get good at being able to do a three-way call, because otherwise your team's going to need you at some point and you're not going to be ready. And I can promise you there were times where I was afraid to do three-way calls. Believe it or not, I wasn't sure what to say, didn't know what to do. But here's what you do. You just build rapport with them. You build rapport with them. You share your story. You learn a little bit about their story. You ask them some questions. Then you move them to the next step. The next step could be, hey, based on everything you've heard, are you ready to get started? One of the first things I'm going to ask on any question when I'm talking to somebody is, hey, what did you like best about the membership? I don't say, hey, what'd you think? I don't say, hey, what did you think? Because that leaves them a place where they can go where I don't want them to go. I'll ask them, what did you like best about the membership? What's one of the first areas that you think you would utilize when you have this membership? See, I'm asking them, well, I'd probably get my will done. When it comes to the opportunity, what did you like best? And whatever they say, I agree with. Whatever they say, I agree with, okay? Next step is to move them to what's next. It may be, hey, now that you've seen everything, It sounds like you see great value in what we do. Are you ready to get started? I'm going to ask them, are you ready to get started? If they tell me they got to think about it, they tell me they got to go back and speak to their wives, whatever the case may be, I'm going to respect that. And I may say to them, what is it that you need to think more about? I may say to them, did I answer all your questions, effectively and efficiently, and you understand exactly what we do? And then I may say to whoever I've got my expert, I may say, to them, I may say, hey, John, why don't you go ahead and send Sheila some of these videos? Why don't you go ahead? And then I'll put them into Prospect by LegalShield, and I'll send them over some information. Keep your three-way calls under 10 minutes. Keep them under 10 minutes. Somebody tells me, I did this amazing three-way calls on the phone over an hour with this person. Now, I'm not going to say there is not going to be these rare opportunities where the conversation, the person's ready to join right then and there. They come on board. Literally, you're doing the game plan interview. You're talking through all that. But as a rule, you keep it underneath 10 minutes. Why? Because everyone has 10 minutes. You can't duplicate an hour on the phone with somebody. Different kinds of three-way calls we have. There's a welcome call. You want to learn to master it. See, I said to earn a six-figure income, it's not always about the prospect. You want to welcome brand new associates with a three-way call. Get a brand new associate on the phone with a couple people. Introduce them to a few folks. You may use a three-way call to be able to, invite, somebody that, you want to come take a look at information. You may use the three-way call, as we just talked about, to move people along in the process. You will use three-way calls to check on your team. I do those all the time. Get on the phone with the sponsor and say, hey, let's just call up Sean. Let's see how he's doing. And one thing I'll tell you with three-way calls, learn to love voicemail. All the time I hear people hang up. They're like, oh, they weren't there. I'm like, well, so what? They weren't there. Let's leave them a message. Give me a brief introduction. Let me go ahead and say hey to them. And they're likely to call back because now somebody else is there. You use three-way calls to promote events for the team. You use three-way calls to be able to close out business. And I'm going to add one more little thing in here. The fourth thing you've got to be good at. And that is to sit down with a brand new associate and do a good game plan. You do want to understand what their why is. You do want to make sure they're using the membership. You do want to make sure they understand the fast start qualifying process. You do want to set a date. They've got 20 days and you ask them, when would you like to get this done? You do want to talk about some non-negotiable things like this team training call. It's part of what we do. Our Sunday night team call. It's part of what we do. Once a month going to a Super Saturday. That's part of what we do. Create the list of 30 names as it says right there. Do a private conference call within the first 24 hours would be ideal. Get them paid within their first 2 weeks. Do welcome calls with them. And most importantly, don't quit. Don't quit. I mean, if I would have quit when I made $2,483, honestly, for me at the time, it wasn't even about the money because I was making good money. But if I would have quit after that first year when I made $2,483, here's what I can tell you would be different. Well, I wouldn't have made probably another $965,000, right? I wouldn't have had time off when my wife, or I would have not had the ability when my wife was, diagnosed with her cancer to take that time off. I would have probably lost my job a couple times through some family things that were going on. I mean, those just life things happen. So you don't quit in this LegalShield business. That's number one. Master those three things that we talked about. Master creating a list. Get really, really good at it. Master the invitation process. Get really, really good at it. Master the three-way call. Get really good at both sides of being able to do it. And that fourth caveat that I put in there was get good at starting people the right way. And then when you can get really, really good at doing them yourselves, then if you can teach somebody the process of doing those things that we just talked about, some incredible things are going to happen. If you can then teach them to teach somebody, wow, really, really amazing things can happen. So I appreciate you guys listening in tonight. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording. I will open it up for a couple questions if anybody has them. Give me 1 second.